All right, Shalom. This is the brother Nahal from the Jhn KJV Orlando camp. I'm going to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yashar Allah, and a sincere salutation to all Yuakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath, who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. Yahweh is the name of the one they ignorantly call God. Yahweh Shai is the name of the one they ignorantly call Jesus. Bahashem is in the name, Rakah is spirit, Kodash is holy, Akyam is brothers, Akwath is sisters. Shalom means peace, and Yashar Allah is Israel in ancient Paleo Hebrew. All right, so I want to go into a lesson through the spirit based on this video that was placed on the archive channel, which is basically this guy right here, his channel. This was a interaction that this guy had with the apostles years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, with Vocab Malone. All right, and I want to go into this again. The lesson is entitled "Salvation is of the Jews," because ultimately, the information war is lost by Esau. All right, he's lost the information war. All right, the truth is now springing forth, and the proper understanding of the Bible, the context of the Bible, especially concerning salvation, is now being brought forth. It's now being brought to light. All right. The handful of misunderstood scriptures that Christians used to use to justify all nations being saved is now being destroyed by the burden of evidence concerning prophecy, all right, precept upon precept. Hebrew hopscotch as they mock, in this video. So I'm going to play a little bit of this, all right, and then we'll get some precepts. Lord willing, this be edifying.
Isaiah 49, that's one, because I'm trying to figure you guys out honestly. Isaiah 49, 5-6, when it says the servant, it's not enough that you're going to gather Israel, but you'll be a light bringing salvation to the nations. There it's talking about Israel and distinction from the nations. How are they wanting to say it?
But ultimately, the nations will be taught this word by the Israelites.
So those are not Israelites, right? Those nations are nations, right?
So those are Israelites. Ultimately, Gentiles will be taught by the Israelites, because we're going to be a kingdom of priests, kings.
So what does it mean? He's not just going to gather Israel. It says he won't just gather Israel, but be a light of salvation to the nations. He's distinguishing between the two.
I got a precept.
And again, see, this goes into the fundamental understanding of what salvation is in the scriptures. All right, so let's go to Luke, the 1st chapter. Let's get a proper understanding of what salvation actually is, because the apostle brought it out that the other nations will learn of the law, statutes, and commandments. All right, but as far as salvation, as far as being saved from sin, as far as the laws being written in the inward parts, that applies to the nation of Israel. All right, according to the promise that was made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right, now let's go here. This is Luke chapter 1 and verse 67. And it reads, and his father, Zacharias, was filled with the Holy Spirit and prophesied, saying, Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people, and hath raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us, to perform the mercy promised to our fathers, and to remember his holy covenant, the oath which he sware to our father Abraham, that he would grant unto us that we, being delivered out of the hand of our enemies, might serve him without fear, in holiness and righteousness before him all the days of our life. So this is an understanding of what that salvation is, being saved and delivered from the nations to perform that promise that was given to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right, as a matter of fact, let's go into, I know they don't really deal with it, but let's go into the Apocrypha. All right, and we're going to go into chapter 44. Let me get the last 3 or 4 verses. All right, so this is Ecclesiastes chapter 44 and 19. And it reads, Abraham was a great father of many people. In glory was there none like unto him, who kept the law of the Most High, and was in covenant with him. He established the covenant in his flesh, and when he was proved, he was found faithful. Now, this shows you that the law was around before we received them on Mount Sinai. All right. And then the covenant of in the flesh is going into the circumcision. Verse 21 reads, therefore he assured him by an oath that he would bless the nations in his seed, and that he would multiply him as the dust of the earth, and exalt his seed as the stars, and cause him to inherit from sea to sea, from the river unto the utmost part of the land. With Isaac did he establish likewise for Abraham his father's sake the blessing of all men and the covenant, and made it rest upon the head of Jacob. He acknowledged him in his blessing, and gave him inheritance, and divided his portions among the 12 tribes, did he part them. All right, so when you see Luke, the first chapter, and the discussion about the promise that was sworn unto Abraham, it was passed down to Isaac, it was passed down to Jacob, and it was divided amongst the 12 tribes of Israel. All right, so again, going back to Luke 160, Luke 1, and I'll start at 70 again. Luke 1 and 70, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us. Because again, we were scattered as a nation. That was one of the punishments that the Lord said that he would do to us. He would scatter us. All right. Let me get that real quick. All right. This is Deuteronomy chapter 32. And let's jump up to get the context. Deuteronomy 32, and let's start at 15. All right, it says, but Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked. Thou art waxen fat, thou art grown thick, thou art covered with fatness. Then he forsook the Most High, which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods. With abominations provoked they him to anger. They sacrificed unto devils, not to the Most High, to gods whom they knew not, to new gods that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not. Of the rock that begat thee, thou art unmindful, and hast forgotten the Most High that formed thee. And when the Lord saw it, he abhorred them because of the provoking of his sons and his daughters. All right, this is concerning the nation of Israel. All right, and he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be, for they are a very froward generation, children in whom is no faith. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. Now, this is going to come to play when you deal with the New Testament. All right. But again, these are Israelites. Those which are not a people. All right, those are Israelites, and we'll get that as well. Verse 22 reads, for a fire is kindled in mine anger, and shall burn unto the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap mischiefs upon them. I will spin mine arrows upon them. They shall be burnt with hunger, and devoured with burning heat, and with bitter destruction. I will also send the teeth of wild beasts upon them, with the poison of serpents of the dust. The sword without, the terror within, shall destroy both young man and the virgin, the suckling also, with the man of gray hairs. I said I would scatter them into corners. I will make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. All right, when you go into the actual curses, the curses go into us being scattered as a nation of people. All right, so let's go here. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28, and I'm going to jump down to '64. All right, and it reads, no, I'll start at 63. And it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught, and ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. All right. And this is why when you deal with the gathering of the nation of Israel in the New Testament, it's to gather what was already scattered. All right. Because again, the Lord scattered us in his anger. But the Lord always said that he would gather the nation of Israel. And this goes into that salvation that we speak of, concerning the New Testament and the ministry of the one they ignorantly called Jesus, whose name is Yahweh Shai. It's to gather the 12 tribes of Israel, which is why the Lord said this, Matthew 15:24. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Because again, going back to the curse, we were scattered as a nation of people, which means we're going to come back looking like all nations. All right. We're not going to all come back looking like black and brown tone individuals. You're going to have Israelites that come back looking like so-called white people. All right. So-called Japanese, so-called Chinese, so-called Arab. All right. But their spirit goes back to the nation of Israel. All right. That is what salvation concerns. All right. Gathering the nation of Israel. And then that second covenant, all right, of the law, statutes, and commandments being written in their hearts. That isn't promised to any other nation outside of the nation of Israel. All right, let's go here. So Isaiah 45:17. But Israel shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. So when you deal with that salvation, it was always promised to the nation of Israel. Now, see, what happens is with Christianity, they take the scriptures and they try to make it a universal doctrine, when really this was a book for us, by us. All right. The Lord gave this message and he directed it to the nation of Israel. All right. Now, again, we were scattered amongst all nations. So that's why the scriptures are so published. Because again, it was meant to gather the nation of Israel, beginning with the elect. All right, let's go here. Matter of fact, let me get this first. This is Baruch chapter 5. And I want to jump down to 5. And it reads, Arise, O Jerusalem, and stand on high, and look about toward the east, and behold thy children gathered from the west unto the east by the word of the Holy One, rejoicing in the remembrance of Yahweh Shai. So what's happening across the planet is prophecy. Likewise, the mocking of us coming back to our heritage is also a part of prophecy. All right, because the scripture said they despise the people of the Lord. All right, let's get that. This is why Christianity at this point, their narrative has been broken down. It's been confounded because, again, when you deal with precept upon precept, all right, when you actually understand the context of what the Lord is doing, all right, the nation of Israel was scattered according to our disobedience, and the Lord had already promised that he would gather us as a nation of people, beginning with the remnant. All right, the Israel of God, which, Christianity uses to insert themselves into a conversation that is not directed toward them. All right, let's go here real quick. This is Jeremiah 33:24. Considerest thou not what this people have spoken, saying the two families which the Lord hath chosen, he hath even cast them off. Thus they have despised my people, that they should be no more a nation before them. All right, and this is what you see through Christianity. Guys like Vocab Malone, all right, who have dedicated a large portion of their life to basically trying to put Israelites back into that grave of being black and Hispanic, being those proverbs and bywords that we were labeled when we got here. Well, this truth cannot be confounded, all right, and it cannot be put in a hole anymore. Now the Lord is beginning to return unto his people, beginning with the elect. And as the scriptures say, they will stand on their feet an exceeding great army, and great fear will fall upon those that saw that. All right, verse 25 reads, Thus saith the Lord, if my covenant be not with day and night, and if I have not appointed the ordinances of the heaven and earth, then will I cast away the seed of Jacob and David my servant, so that I will not take any of his seed to be rulers over the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For I will cause their captivity to return, and have mercy on them. And when you read this in the NLT, verse 26 says, I will never abandon the descendants of Jacob or David, my servant, or change the plan that David's descendants will rule the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Instead, I will restore them to their land and have mercy on them. All right. And no one can get in front of that promise. This is why this word is being preached with great confidence, because again, precept upon precept, Christianity can't explain this. Now you have those Christians who acknowledge that the Lord has a particular blessing for the nation of Israel, the Israelites, but they assume that the Israelites are the small hats in the state of Israel. But then you have people like Vocab Malone and this guy here who have asserted themselves as basically replacing the nation of Israel, which you can't do that. All right. This is why what you notice is when you deal with prophecy, there are very specific prophecies against nations of people. All right. Matter of fact, let's get an example of that. It's Jeremiah chapter 30 and 16. And it reads, therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. All right. Let's get another example. It's Isaiah 14 and 1. It says, for the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And these strangers are dealing with Israelite foreigners. All right. And verse 2 reads, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. That is extremely specific. And it breaks down this narrative of, everybody either going to hell and burning forever, or they're going to heaven where they float forever. All right. This is dealing with rulership on the earth and a recompense. The scriptures describe the day of the Lord's vengeance. What is being revenged? What's been done to the nation of Israel? All right. This is Zechariah chapter 2 and 8. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations, which spoiled you. For he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of his eye. So this shows you that there's a different narrative from Christianity, whereas anybody can just call on the name of Jesus and now be saved. When it talks about salvation, the Lord is saving his people from their enemies. And in turn, they begin to rule over those enemies. They begin to rule over those who oppress them. But before that happens, the gathering must happen. And this is what you see. The ministry of Yahushua set the foundation for the gathering of the lost sheep of the house of Israel, dealing with the elect. All right, let's go here in Isaiah, the 11th chapter and the 11th verse. And it reads, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcast of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth, which goes back to the curse of being scattered. This is the Lord saying, look, I will gather them again a second time. And it's happening through this ministry. All right, the ministry that was established by Yahushua, and this is the continuation of it. All right, as a matter of fact, because again, when you look at this, look at all of these lands, which shows you that Israelites are going to look like all different types of people. This is why in Revelation it says out of every nation, because this is where they were scattered. All right, matter of fact, let's get that. So Revelation chapter 7 and 9, and it reads, and after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands. All right, and this is going into the Israelites that were scattered, going into that promise that was made in Isaiah 11:11. All right, because again, they're going to come back as a nation of people. We're going to come back looking like all nations, because when you deal with the scriptures, all right, in context, nationality isn't necessarily determined by skin color. All right, it's determined by the seed of your fathers, and that's in the scriptures. All right, this is Numbers 1:18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by their polls. So your lineage is determined by the seed of your father. All right. So, and I'm bringing this out to show that the nation of Israel, as they're gathered back, are going to look like all nations of people. But skin color is an indicator, but it's not the ultimate determinant as far as your nationality. And this is why you have Israelites who are basically rejecting anybody that looks like another nation off of face value. But the scriptures don't tell us to do that. As a matter of fact, the scriptures say this, John 7:24, judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Because again, we understand we're scattered amongst all nations, and this salvation of the nation of Israel, beginning with the elect, means that wherever Israel is scattered concerning the elect, they're going to be gathered back. And this is the stumbling block, if you will, of the New Testament. Because when you deal with the Gentiles that can receive salvation in the New Testament, you have to understand the context to properly receive what's happening in the New Testament. It's not reaching out to other nations of people. This is the ministry that is fulfilling the prophecies of the Lord, gathering his people from the four winds of the earth, as he said he would. As a matter of fact, let's get Jeremiah 16. All right, this is Jeremiah chapter 16 and verse 14. And it reads, therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he had driven them. And I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. So what you see in the New Testament, all right, is a fulfillment of this. Is that ministry being fulfilled? And this is a stumbling block unto modern day Christianity, because they don't deal with prophecy. When you understand prophecy, things in the New Testament make more sense. All right, and this is why precept upon precept is important. You know, they make a joke or mock of precept upon precept. Well, you look at the New Testament, what was Paul saying? As it is written. You know, Yahushua did that. You know, as it is written. He didn't read the whole chapter. A lot of cases he would say as it is written and just give an matter of fact, let's do this. Let's get an example. I don't want that yet. I'll get. So this is Matthew chapter 13 and 13. And it reads, therefore speak I to them in parables, because they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which saith, by hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see, and not perceive. For this people's heart is waxed gross, and their eyes are dull of hearing, and their eyes that they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them. All right, so Yahushua is referencing this in Isaiah 6. This is Isaiah chapter 6 and 9. And it reads, and he said, go and tell this people, hear ye indeed, but understand not, and see ye indeed, but perceive not. Make the heart of this people fat, and make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their heart and convert and be healed. So this is Yahweh Shai, doing what they would mock as hopscotch. He didn't have to read the whole chapter. He referenced this, which is what brothers are able to do through the Spirit, precept upon precept. Here a little and there a little, like it says in Isaiah, the 28th chapter. We'll just get it. All right, this is Isaiah chapter 28, and jump down to verse 10. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people, Salakia. So it says here a little and there a little. So when you look at this, what they mock as Hebrew hopscotch is actually biblical. All right, and this is why this truth is it's beautiful, really. All right, when you look at those who profess themselves to be wise concerning a book that doesn't concern them. It's ironic that other nations of people are trying to tell us about our heritage as a nation. Nobody had a problem. They weren't on the streets yelling and screaming when we were identifying ourselves as Negroes, Latinos, or Native Americans. But now that we identify ourselves as our proper nationality as Israelites, they're trying to frustrate the building like they did before in the day of Ezra. No new thing under the sun. That's why they don't even realize that the mocking that they do of this ministry is all biblical, because they did this in the days of old. All right, and now they're doing it again. Matter of fact, let's get a little bit of this. Let's play a little bit more.
Isaiah 49, this one, because I'm trying to figure you guys out honestly. Isaiah 49, 5-6, when it says the servant, it's not enough that you're going to gather Israel, but you'll be a light bringing salvation to the nations. There it's talking about Israel and distinction from the nations. How are they one and the same?
But ultimately, the nations will be taught this word by the Israelites.
So those are not Israelites, right? Those nations are nations, right?
So the Bible says ultimately Gentiles will be taught by the Israelites, because we're going to be a kingdom of priests.
What does it mean? He's not just going to gather Israel. It says he won't just gather Israel, but be a light of salvation to the nations. He's distinguishing between the two.
I got a precept. Hold up. Psalm 147, 19 and 20. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel.
Okay.
He have not dealt so with any nation.
But I thought the nation meant the Israelites
That's what
scattered.
the scripture said. He have not dealt so with any nation.
Those Israelites have been scattered and lost their religion, so to speak.
Right.
Now the Most High set up Paul to go among those Gentiles to wake them back up.
So I can understand what you said.
Before we came into this truth that we're Israelites, we were all considered Gentiles,
Right.
but we were still Israelites.
Right.
If a Chinese person, you got a Chinese person that lives here in America, that's a fifth generation, sixth generation Chinese. He can't speak the language. He can't eat with chopsticks. He knows nothing about the Chinese culture. Does that make him not a Chinese person?
What'd you call him? You called him a Chinese person.
You
didn't call him. Notice you didn't call him. Yeah, but you didn't call him an American. Okay, I want to just. I'm trying to stay on this psalm. But the psalm he quoted, I just want clarification, because it says that he gave his precepts to Jacob, right? To Israel, right? That's all of Israel. And he hasn't done so for any nation. How can that nation then be Israel when the passage is saying that he gave this to all Israel in distinction from the nation?
Matthew 10, 5, and 6.
But that's not in Matthew 10, 5,
and 6. We were all lost. We were all lost at one time.
I know. I'm really lost. I'm seriously lost. Matthew 10, 5 to 6.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense to you because you don't understand the scripture.
No, but read Matthew 10, 5 to 6. Let me read it.
Go ahead, read it.
These 12,
tell me what it means.
These 12, I'm going to say Jesus because they'll have a problem if I say it.
How do you say his name?
Read it verbatim.
No, I don't have a problem. How do you say it? I don't know.
These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of...
That means don't go to the scattered Jews.
Well, you just said Gentiles means the scattered Jews. So go not unto...
And this is a beautiful point too. That's why if you don't understand this, is because ultimately it's not the spirit. The spirit is not on you to understand it, because when you deal with, let's get an example of this. right? Because the word Gentile, you know, when it refers to Israelites, it was almost like derogatory, you know. And the example is John 7 and 35. All right. Matter of fact, let's get the context. This is 33. Then said Yahushua unto them, Yet a little while I am with you, and then I go unto him that sent me. Ye shall seek me and shall not find me, and where I am, thither ye cannot come. Then said the Jews among themselves, Whither will he go that we shall not find him? Will he go into the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? All right. And this dispersed is the Israelites. All right. Let's go into that Greek word for dispersed, which is diaspora. All right. And it says a scattering dispersion of Israelites dispersed among foreign nations. All right. So this is Israelites calling other Israelites Gentiles. All right. And the reason I say that, if you don't understand that, is because, you know, Jake in this culture does it often. You know, when you deal with Jake from the islands, you know, they'll call you a Yankee, which means you're basically an Israelite that grew up in Babylon the Great, which is America. You're still of the nationality, but they consider you basically a foreigner. So when you fast forward to the New Testament, you see Gentiles that are receiving salvation. It's not dealing with other nations of people. This is Israelites who did not keep their lineage. They didn't keep their culture. And now they're returning to their culture. All right, and this is why understanding the context of salvation is so important, because the heathens are going to be in the kingdom, but they're going to be under subjection, under rulership. Matter of fact, before we go here, let's go here. This is Daniel chapter 2. I want to jump down to verse 44. And it reads, And in the days of these kings shall the power of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people. It's not going to be an EU. It's not going to be a NATO, a rainbow coalition of nations. All right. But it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Because Yahushua government, his rulership, involves the nation of Israel as joint heirs. All right. Which, in the spirit of Hebrew hopscotch, let's go here. This is Acts chapter 1. I want to jump down to, matter of fact, Salakia. Let me just get it. So it's Acts 1 and 6. And it reads, And when they were come together, they asked of him, saying, Lord, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel? All right, going back to Daniel 2nd. And he said unto them, It is not for you to know the times or the seasons which the Father hath put in his own power. Now, if their assumption was wrong that the kingdom was going to be given to Israel, Yahushua would have corrected them. But what did he tell them? It's not for you to know. See, when it's precept upon precept, the context is important concerning what is happening in the scriptures, you know? Because we deal with precept upon precept, but when you look at the zoom out version of what's going on in the scriptures, the Lord chose a nation of people, and you witness the exchange, the relationship the Lord has with his people, them going in and out of captivity. But it was always prophesied that there would be a end to that cycle when Shiloh came. All right, when Yahushua, the one they ignorantly called Jesus, came, it will be an end of that cycle of going in and out of captivity. And this is why when they saw Yahushua after everything had happened, in their mind it was over. This is why they asked this question: Is it time? Is it time for the kingdom? And Yahushua didn't correct him. He didn't say, no, the kingdom is for all nations. He just said that it's not for you to know the time or the seasons. Which shows you what's actually happening in the scriptures, as opposed to the narrative that Christianity has given us for centuries. All right, let's go here. And I'll end it with this. All right, this is Ezekiel 36 and 22. And it reads, Therefore say unto the house of Israel, Thus saith the Lord God, I do not this for your sakes, O house of Israel, but for mine holy name's sake, which ye have profaned among the heathen, whither ye went. And I will sanctify my great name, which was profaned among the heathen, which ye have profaned in the midst of them. And the heathen shall know that I am the Lord, saith Yahweh Shai, when I shall be sanctified in you before their eyes. This is a clear separation. It says, for I will take you from among the heathen and gather you out of all countries and will bring you into your own land. Then will I sprinkle clean water upon you, and ye shall be clean from all your filthiness, and from all your idols will I cleanse you. Showing you that this salvation is not talking to all nations. This is the Lord clearly saying he's gathering Israel from among the heathen. All right, let's continue. Verse 26, a new heart also will I give you, and a new spirit will I put within you. And I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and I will give you an heart of flesh. And I will put my spirit within you, and cause you to walk in my statutes, and ye shall keep my judgments and do them. And ye shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers, and ye shall be my people, and I will be your God. I will also save you from all your uncleanliness, and I will call for the corn, and will increase it, and lay no famine upon you. And I will multiply the fruit of the tree, and the increase of the field, that ye shall receive no more reproach of famine among the heathen. Man, and this is showing you who this is relating to. So when you get into the New Testament, all right, you see what's happening. If you don't have this as your foundation, you're going to be confounded. All right, let's go to Ezekiel 39. I'll end it with this one. So this is Ezekiel 39. I'm going to jump down to 25. All right, because I got to start up. So let's start at 21. Ezekiel 39 and 21. And it reads, and I will set my glory among the heathen, and all the heathen shall see my judgment that I have executed, and my hand that I have laid upon them. So the house of Israel shall know that I am the Lord their God from that day and forward. And the heathen shall know that the house of Israel went into captivity for their iniquity, because they trespassed against me. Therefore hid I my face from them, and gave them into the hand of their enemies. So fell they all by the sword. According to their uncleanliness and according to their transgressions have I done unto them, and hid my face from them. Therefore thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Shai, now will I bring again the captivity of Jacob, and have mercy upon the whole house of Israel, and will be jealous for my holy name. After that they have borne their shame, which is what we're bearing now, having to debate heathens about our own heritage, being looked at as base men, all right, as unintelligent, as criminals, all right, despised amongst the nations. The Lord says this, after they have borne their shame and all their trespasses, whereby they have trespassed against me, when they dwelt safely in their land, and none made them afraid. When I have brought them again from the people, and gathered them out of their enemies' lands, and am sanctified in them in the sight of many nations. Then shall they know that I am the Lord their God, which caused them to be led into captivity among the heathen, but I have gathered them unto their own land, and have left none of them any more there. Neither will I hide my face any more from them, for I have poured out my spirit upon the house of Israel, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shai. This is the importance of what's happening in the New Testament, is to fulfill these promises that were made. Matter of fact, which means I want to end it with this. This is John chapter 4 and verse 21. And it reads, Yahweh saith unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. Ye worship ye know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews, because that everlasting mercy, that everlasting salvation was never promised to anybody else. It's always promised to the nation of Israel. Now, under that righteous rulership, the heathens will rejoice, but a new heart being given is not it's not meant for the other nations. That's not a promise that was given to them. They will be under righteous rulership, but they're not promised that covenant. All right. This is Hebrews 8:7. For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. And the first covenant only applied to the nation of Israel. The second covenant only applies to the nation of Israel. It reads, for finding fault with them, he saith, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. And the reason, one of the main ways we know, all right, one of many ways we know that this it only applies to the nation of Israel. When you deal with verse 11, it says, and they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. This is talking about the nation of Israel. How do we know that? So when you go to Isaiah, the 2nd chapter, it says this in verse 2, beginning at verse 2, and it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. So if it applied to everybody else, why would they need to be taught? It shows you that the second covenant only applies to the nation of Israel. All right. Now, under that rulership, under the kingdom of heaven, the heathens will be in the kingdom of heaven, but they will be under subjection, and they will be taught the ways of Yahweh Shema Shai. All right. Verse 4 to end it off, it says, and he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. All right, so with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yahshua Allah, and a sincere salutation to all you Akim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwad, who are believing this word and all truth and in sincerity. Shalom.